In the heart of Mar-a-Lago, Florida, on December 28, 2025, a historic event quietly unfolded beneath the swaying palms and golden sunlight. The world's attention turned to this iconic estate, where the stakes could not have been higher. President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy for a pivotal summit, marking the first time the two leaders met face-to-face since the escalation of the war in Ukraine. Their mission: to find a path toward ending a conflict that had gripped the world's attention for years, leaving millions displaced and countless lives changed forever. After 2 intense hours of closed-door negotiations, both leaders emerged to address a packed press room. Their statements were measured, but the sense of anticipation was palpable. Trump and Zelenskyy spoke of cautious optimism, hinting at the possibility of a comprehensive peace agreement that could reshape the future of Eastern Europe. Trump, never one to shy away from bold declarations, announced that the two sides were very close to finalizing a deal. He suggested that a resolution could be reached within weeks, a timeline that surprised many observers and injected a new sense of urgency into the peace process. Zelenskyy, standing beside Trump, revealed that both delegations had agreed on 90% of a detailed 20-point peace plan. This remarkable diplomatic breakthrough signaled a willingness to compromise and a shared desire to end the suffering of their people. The remaining issues, though complex, now seemed surmountable. The choice of Mar-a-Lago as the venue was no accident. Trump's personal resort provided a relaxed, informal setting, reflecting his preference for direct, unfiltered diplomacy. Away from the rigid protocols of Washington or Kiev, the leaders were able to speak candidly, building personal rapport and trust that had eluded previous negotiations. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the estate, the world watched with bated breath. For the first time in years, there was a fragile but genuine sense of hope, a belief that perhaps peace in Ukraine was finally within reach. The coming weeks would be critical, but tonight, optimism flickered in the Florida twilight. The optimism stems from real progress on a multi-point peace plan, covering military de-escalation, economic recovery, and security. Trump's claim that the deal is 95% done reflects months of intense shuttle diplomacy among the US, Ukraine, EU, and NATO. The framework includes phased troop withdrawals, humanitarian corridors, and international aid for Ukraine's reconstruction. Yet the final 5%, issues of sovereignty, territory, and justice, remains the most contentious, threatening to derail the process. Recent negotiations in Berlin, Geneva, and Palm Beach allowed technical experts to resolve most details, leaving only the toughest decisions for the leaders. The structure of a peace deal is visible, but the hardest compromises are still ahead. Security guarantees for Ukraine are not just a diplomatic formality, they are the cornerstone of the nation's hopes for lasting peace and stability. As Ukraine continues to face the threat of renewed aggression, the need for robust, credible assurances from the international community has never been more urgent. These guarantees are at the heart of the peace plan, representing a collective commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. They are designed to reassure not only the Ukrainian people but also the wider region that the world stands united against further conflict. President Zelenskyy has emphasized that both negotiating sides are now fully agreed on the principle of security guarantees, a significant breakthrough for a nation that has endured years of invasion and uncertainty. This consensus marks a turning point, offering hope for a more secure future. Former President Trump clarified that, under the proposed arrangement, Europe would take the lead in providing security guarantees, with the United States offering strong support from behind the scenes. However, this support would stop short of a direct American military commitment, reflecting a new balance of responsibilities among Western allies. This hybrid model is intended to deter future aggression by signaling unity and resolve, while also avoiding the complexities and risks of a formal U.S. treaty obligation. It's a carefully crafted approach, aiming to provide Ukraine with the protection it needs without overextending any single nation. Yet, important questions remain. The remaining disagreements focus on operational details, such as what specific events would trigger a collective response, how quickly allies would be expected to act, and the exact mechanisms for coordination among the guarantor nations. For Ukraine, these guarantees mean a stronger security footing and a renewed sense of hope. For Europe, they bring greater responsibility and a chance to demonstrate leadership on the world stage. For the United States, It means playing a vital supporting role, offering resources, intelligence, and diplomatic backing, while encouraging European allies to step up. If these guarantees are finalized, it would be a landmark achievement. Ukraine would gain the confidence to rebuild its cities, restore its economy, and look to the future with optimism, knowing that it is not alone. The world now watches closely, waiting to see if these historic pledges will be transformed into a binding pact, one that could reshape the security landscape of Europe for generations to come. The fate of Donbas remains the biggest obstacle. Russia demands Ukraine withdraw from all of Donetsk and Luhansk, a move Kyiv sees as unacceptable. Zelenskyy countered with a proposal: demilitarize Donbas, create a free economic zone, and let residents decide its future by referendum. If Russia first agrees to a 60-90-day ceasefire. Trump acknowledged no final agreement on Donbas yet, warning that delay risks further Ukrainian losses. The issue is not just diplomatic, it's tied to ongoing violence and the war's strategic balance. Other sticking points include ceasefire timing, control of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant, and finalizing U.S. security guarantees. These few remaining issues carry the greatest weight for peace. No peace deal is possible without Russia's involvement. Hours before meeting Zelenskyy, Trump spoke with Putin for 75 minutes. Both sides described the call as productive. The Kremlin remains skeptical of a ceasefire, fearing it would let Ukraine regroup, and insists on a quick resolution for Donbas. Yet, Russia agreed to joint working groups on economic and security issues, signaling some openness to negotiation. Trump's approach is transactional. He avoids blame, focusing on brokering a deal both sides can accept. This controversial stance is central to his role as mediator, keeping both Kyiv and Moscow at the table. Even as peace talks advanced, war raged on. On December 27, Russia launched a massive air assault on Kyiv, killing civilians and crippling infrastructure. On the front lines, Russian offensives continued, with both sides disputing territorial gains. Ukraine responded with long-range drone strikes deep inside Russia, targeting strategic assets. The ongoing violence adds urgency to the negotiations. Every day of delay means more destruction and loss. For Ukraine, the pressure to secure peace is immense. For Russia, battlefield gains may harden its stance. The fighting directly shapes the leverage and urgency at the negotiating table. The outcome of talks and the war are inseparable. The summit was the result of tireless work by U.S., Ukrainian, and European teams. The U.S. delegation included Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Ukraine's team featured top security and diplomatic officials, ensuring their interests were robustly defended. European leaders, including UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, joined via video, reflecting Europe's central role in security guarantees and reconstruction. Military leaders like General Dan Kane provided critical advice on ceasefire and demilitarization. The combined expertise of diplomats, advisors, and generals has brought the peace plan to the brink of completion. Their continued collaboration is vital for resolving the final issues. With the summit concluded, negotiators now face their toughest phase, resolving the last obstacles to a final deal. Talks will focus on Donbas, ceasefire timing, and security guarantees. Any agreement may require approval by Ukraine's parliament or even a national referendum, especially if it involves territorial concessions. Trump has offered to address Ukraine's parliament to help secure support for peace. Zelenskyy may put the deal to a public vote, seeking a democratic mandate for difficult compromises. The alternative to a deal is grim continued war, with no guarantee of increased U.S. support. The coming weeks will determine whether peace is possible, or if conflict will drag on. The Mar-a-Lago meeting marks a pivotal turning point in the ongoing Ukraine war, drawing the eyes of the world to a single location where history may be made. The stakes have never been higher, and the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and uncertainty. For the first time since the conflict began, a comprehensive U.S.-brokered peace deal appears to be within reach. This potential breakthrough is the result of months of tireless diplomacy, secret negotiations, and countless hours of behind-the-scenes work by diplomats and leaders from around the globe. The world is watching as the possibility of a negotiated settlement, once thought impossible, now seems tangible. The stakes are enormous. For Ukraine, peace is not just a political goal. It is an urgent necessity for millions of civilians whose lives have been upended by violence and displacement. Every day the war continues, families are torn apart, homes are destroyed, and the hope for a normal life slips further away. For the United States, this is a rare opportunity to secure a historic foreign policy victory, demonstrating American leadership on the world stage and reaffirming its commitment to global stability and democratic values. For Russia, the negotiations offer a possible way out of a costly and protracted conflict that has strained its resources and international standing, while also providing a chance to reshape its relationship with the West. Yet, major unresolved issues remain, especially the fate of the Donbas region, which is deeply intertwined with Ukraine's national identity, sovereignty, and the aspirations of its people. The question of who controls Donbas is not just a matter of territory, but of history, culture, and the future of Ukraine itself. The success of these talks depends on the ability of negotiators to craft a solution that is acceptable to all parties, balancing competing interests and addressing deep-seated grievances. It will require creativity, compromise, and above all, trust. Ultimately, the outcome hinges on Russia's willingness to honor any agreement reached, and on the international community's resolve to hold all sides accountable for their commitments. The next few weeks could reshape not only the future of Ukraine, but the course of the 21st century itself. Decisions made here will reverberate across continents, influencing alliances, security, and the global order for years to come. If peace prevails, it would bring an end to immense suffering, allow refugees to return home, and help stabilize Europe at a time of great uncertainty. The promise of rebuilding and renewal would offer hope to millions. But if these efforts fail, the consequences will be dire. More bloodshed, deepening divisions, and a world pushed further toward instability and conflict. Around the globe, people watch anxiously, hoping that this fragile moment will lead to a lasting peace, rather than another chapter of tragedy. Whatever the outcome, its impact will echo far beyond Ukraine's borders, shaping the destiny of nations and the future of our world.